Good morning, everyone. This is Winston with the Creativity Cocktail powered by Rising Tides Charity. Today is a wonderful, crisp day in the fall. I won't tell you what day it is because, it might be a couple days afterwards. We are so thrilled that we have we have a person that's going to be on the podcast today that many of you in Atlanta may know. Many of you in Atlanta may wish to know. She is so phenomenal. Her name is Praise Jackson. Praise, say hello to everyone.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to be on with you, Winston. Thank you so much for the invitation and the opportunity for me to be able to share with your listeners about the things that I'm doing and my engagement with amazing creatives throughout the city of Atlanta and nationally.
That's fantastic. I tell you, Praise, number one, I think I've said this the first time we met. You have one of the most awesome names that I've ever encountered. Praise Jackson. That sounds like a superstar.
Well, you know what? I tell you what, there's a backstory behind it, and I can, briefly share. So I happen to come from a family of 5 children. My mom and dad, they had children, 5 of us. There is 3 girls and 2 boys, and so I was the 4th youngest, and my parents were hippies. They came up through the as we would want to call it, the Woodstock era. And so they were living amazing life in that experience, but they then came to know the Lord. And so during that journey, I was the child that was conceived, and my parents heard very clearly that my name should be Praise Delight. I will be honest, they did not know that I was a boy or a girl by the time I was born, so they had my name before I actually was delivered. And so aren't we glad that I ended up being a girl? I don't know what that would have been like had I been a boy, but you know what? I would have made it work. We would have rocked with it either way.
That's right. It would have been a different combo, but I'm glad that you are who you are. That is a great. Right. Thank you for sharing that story. That is amazing. And blessings to your parents too for naming you. That is fantastic. That is really cool.
Right. And just to keep it 100, I did not like my name when I was younger. I was definitely opposed to having a name that stood out, and I always got teased about it. You can imagine the gamut. You name it, I heard it. Yeah. But as I got older, I really understood the value that comes with having a name that is different. And even with my business, I embraced that through my website. I actually shared a little bit in my About Me about what that means to me. And so, of course, having the name Praise, and then even with my business name, which is Elements of Delight, incorporating my middle name, it really is an extension of who I am. And then Elements of Delight really just means all the things that I enjoy and all of the things that are a part of who I am.
Oh, wait a minute. So I think I missed something here. So your middle name is Delight?
Yes. So Praise Delight is my middle name. Yes.
Oh,
so
wow.
Delight is my middle name. Yes.
That is something that for all of the audience that's listening to here today, they've got to be like, that is. I thought it was already a fantastic name. It was just Praise Jackson, but now it's Praise Delight Jack. That is amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And when I tell people, they kind of step back for a minute because they want to make sure that they heard what they heard. Yes, you're hearing me say my name is Praise Delight. And kind of funny story. So I had been on Facebook for a while, but I had created a profile, then jumped off for a little bit just because social media was doing some things and I just wanted to kind of clear my mind. And by the time I came back to Facebook a couple of years later, someone had seen my name previously, ended up having a child, and actually named their child Praise. Wow. And when they found that I was back on Facebook, ended up messaging me to tell me that they had a little girl and that they had named her Praise. And it was the sweetest sweetest thing, obviously, to get that type of message. But at the same time, it was kind of weird at the same time because I don't know who this person is, right? And so, of course, I appreciate having someone want to, give their child my name. But, that was very unusual for me. So I was definitely like, wow.
You never know what, you never know what the impact that we have on people in the world is, right? Like, one conversation, your name, you never know how this can translate to someone. That is a great story. You shared Elements of Delight, your company, your organization. Tell us a little bit about you. I know you sent over a bio, but I think it would be more fantastic to hear it from you because I'm looking at it and you're talking about the companies that you've worked with. Some of them are so amazing. You've done all different types of things in media and fashion. Tell us a little bit about that.
Right. So I should start out by saying that I went to Georgia State and I got a degree actually in drawing and painting. And that degree was amazing for me because it gave me an opportunity right after college to start my own business, which at the time was called Delight Art. And in Delight Art, I did commission murals and paintings for people that would, hire and commission me to do paintings throughout the city of Atlanta and the Southeast region. And that was an amazing experience. I enjoyed being, utilizing my creativity in that way. But there was a part of me, because I'm an extrovert by nature, that was not allowing me to really embrace the side of me that loves engaging people. And being an artist is a very introverted, very isolated way of living, especially the type of work that I was doing. And so as a result of that, I ended up, at the same time, I happened to have done a couple of pageants, so I have a few pageants under my belt, surprisingly enough. And as a result of being in the pageant world, there was something called spokesmodeling that gave me an opportunity to be able to engage speaking and connecting with people at trade shows representing a variety of high-end brands like Samsung, Sony, Mercedes-Benz, BMW, you name it. I, had the experience to work with these great brands. And so as I worked in this industry, I really started to understand the value of branding and marketing and how it really has a strong dynamic in being able to help consumers to be able to connect with what they enjoy, their experiences, and how their dollars, are utilized based on their interest in their life of a product or service. So I was in that industry for about 10 years. I ended up going from a spokesmodel to then becoming an account manager with one of the companies that I worked with, and then later being actually over the trade show division for that company, which meant that I actually managed the talent and worked with various brands and companies, helping them to build out their brands at trade shows so that they could be able to stand out at any given industry trade show you could think of, technology, automotive, real estate, health industry, entertainment industry, the music industry. So you name it, I have had some type of involvement. And so because of that experience, working with the companies nationwide and then, of course, even overseas, that really helped me to hone my skill set. So by the time in 2014, I would have it, I ended up being let go. And, I realized that something that at the time was a little bit of a disappointing and a really challenging experience turned into an extreme blessing for me because it really opened my eyes to the fact that everything that I had been doing over the course of those past several years, I had been able to do, right? So therefore, all of the gifts and the talents and the things that the company that I had been working for had been able to benefit from, those were the things that I had in my arsenal. And so what I decided to do is after looking and searching at different opportunities and not really seeing as I was job searching, it came to me to just start my own business. And even though I really had no real idea about what that really was going to entail, tell, what I knew is that I had more than enough in me to be able to go the route of an entrepreneur, given I had already had, a business, as I stated previously. And so what I did was I put out an email. I basically let about 30 people that I knew know that I had recently been let go and that this is the journey that I was about to be on, and that if any of them could benefit from some services, the services that I could offer, which I basically outlined in my resume, that they could reach out to me. And I will be honest in telling you, I got my first 4 clients from that. And I worked those 4 clients and was committed to, prove that I could do it. And that was in October of 2014, and I have never looked back. And every year my company has gotten bigger and has gotten more reputable and has gained a true respect in this industry, even to the degree that Rolling Out just had honored me with the acknowledgement of best branding agency in Atlanta, sought after agency in Atlanta. So I'm so grateful.
That is so inspirational. I was sitting there, and while you were talking, I was saying to myself, there's so many pieces of what you were sharing that I've had a similar kind of path around. Even the dates kind of align. So I think you and I must have been around 2014, somewhere in that area. And you had so much powerful energy. And at that time, I had gone through something similar where I had a very successful corporate career, and I had all of these things, and I was had all these titles, and then I wasn't, based on the way that corporation was. It just said, hey, we're going to just change things. And so I wasn't like that. And I started to meet people, and I think your experience can line up with this, that really transformed life in such a profound and beautiful way. I shared recently that since that time, 2014 to now, which is 5-6 years from ago, I've come to engage and know and be part of so many experiences that if I looked at the past or the previous 15 years from 2014 previously, it's just been a whirlwind. Your story is so inspirational, so many things that you've done. And for those of you who are listening to this podcast, I want you to really take a moment to listen to some of the things that she shared. Praise, when you said things around the fact that you decided to do it on your own. I feel so many wonderful creators feel hobbled by believing that they have to be in some kind of box as opposed to taking a step on their own, and just going ahead and doing themselves and being themselves. And it sounded like you took that step, right?
Absolutely. And for me, given, like I said before, I had been working in the branding and, in this area for a while, I observed through the different company experiences, really those, if I want to say, kind of, orthodox way of doing things. But because, again, I am very creative, and that part of me, that side of me was not going to allow me to just do things in the box, I was determined to be able to do this on my own terms, because if I was going to go ahead and step out on the face to start my own business, well, you better believe that I was going to be able to do this in a way that felt right and felt good for me. And I'm not going to tell you that I followed all of the proper ways to do it. And even to this day with my clients, I'm very clear with them that there are some things that I know to be true about the foundation of a strong business. And please keep in mind that I recognize that that's important. However, what I also know to be true is that sometimes what works for one thing does not always work for the other. So you have to be very clear about what your intention is, what your mission is, and then just go about doing it. And if you get to a point where you have a wall, decide what you need to do to get over it. I mean, that's just at the end of the day. And I do it every day with my own brand, and then, of course, with the representation that I provide to my clients. But ultimately, what it comes down to is being able to have the ability to do it on your terms. And when you do things that way, ultimately, there is satisfaction and there's a success, because you're not having to emulate or imitate something that someone else has done, that you don't know how they got there. And the path that you're taking versus the path that they may be taking can be very different based on multiple circumstances. So that's one of the things that I am always, very clear about, and do my best to try to make sure that I express that. Because even in this conversation, one of the things that I also would like to share is that social media, of course, as we know, plays a huge role in being able to get out the message and, add additional value to a brand. But what I also know is that you have to know how to do it. And one of the things that I was clear on also as I started my business is recognizing that there is nothing that can replace face-to-face engagement. So one of the things that I did early on was be very intentional about building out a large network of contacts that I have access to that are through my phone, that it does not have to require me to DM anyone, message anyone, and be, 10 people removed to try to get to someone, when literally I've created the ability to do so by just picking up my phone and making a call or sending a text. And so that's also one of the things that I was very intentional about early on, and it's paying off for me in dividends right now because I was intentional about doing that early on, and still do that as a practice with my business.
That is fantastic. I appreciate the fact that not only you're giving our audience that are listening some creative advice, but also some real business thought processes and what they should think about. One of the things you said, and I got really curious about, was this time in your life where you were doing murals and artwork. Do you have some of that that's still out there? I mean, I would love to. I don't think I've seen that. I would love to see some of that stuff that you've done in the past.
Oh my gosh. So yes, I definitely, as it turns out, the murals that I have done have been in people's personal homes. So they were on walls that were in homes. And of course, as I stated, the commission paintings. I primarily worked in acrylic when we talk about the mural work, but the other mediums that I have worked in and have art that is in would be oil pastels, chalk pastels, and watercolor were the other mediums that I tend to work in some cases mixing all of those together. And I tend to, because as I stated, did commission work, a lot of times the themes of what I was doing were around the ideas and the concepts of that particular client. But I do have personal pieces that I have kept. I have pieces in my place now, and it's just a reminder to me that yes, in the way that I'm not necessarily painting day in and day out like I was at one point in my life, that is still in me. And I do believe at some point I will get back to painting more regularly. And I'm looking forward to it because for me, the creative community and the ability to be able to provide an opportunity for people to be able to step out of who they are through art and what art brings, to me, is extremely valuable. And I also have children. I have a 18-year-old and a 20, getting ready to be 21-year-old, and it's amazing to me just watching them be able to kind of step into their own creative space as a result of the example that I feel they've seen in me. And so that to me is one of the reasons why I believe that, like I said, I've done been an artist, or am an artist, and haven't, have painted in the past. I do believe I will get back to it, and I'm looking forward to it because there's so many people that know of my artwork that have been asking me, what I've done recently, and I'm looking forward to me picking up the brush again.
Good for you on that oil and that oil piece. So that was always a challenging thing for me. I did most of my work in acrylic, sort of like what you mentioned. So the fact that you work in oil tells me that you have an unbelievable amount of patience, and the fact that plus you have 2 grown kids. There's also another thing that tells me you have patience.
Yes, and it's kind of interesting because my son is following after me, and from the marketing standpoint, obviously there's a level of creativity that comes with that, and then my daughter She's done in high school a lot of theater related projects, so she's definitely acting, and then singing is the two talents that she's been really able to focus on, and is currently in Ohio at the College of Worcester, and my son at Georgia State University.
That is amazing. So I get a sense from knowing you for some time that you've got a really decent finger on the pulse of the Atlanta creative community and the things that are happening here, the things that are really exciting, the things that are opportunities. Can you share with us, all of us that are listening, some of your views on the creative community here and some of the things that are really, really top of mind when you think about all of the things that are happening around us?
Wow, you know what? That's an awesome question. And yes, I'm extremely excited about the things that are happening in the Atlanta creative community and just in Atlanta in general. And one of the things that I decided to do early on, those of you that are here in the Atlanta area and those of you that, may also just be on the pulse of what is going on, the Gathering Spot is an amazing space that is a members-based club that has allowed for creative professionals, entrepreneurs, those who are disruptors and really wanting to embrace the idea again of kind of the thinking out of the box, but at the same time allowing for connectivity. It was founded by Ryan Wilson and TK Peterson, and I early on made a decision when I learned about the Gathering Spot that I wanted to become a member. And I did so back in 2017, and now, am still a member. And one of the things that I will say is that bringing that type of the Gathering Spot has brought an amazing opportunity to Atlanta that I feel was missing initially. And I think that it has really opened up the conversation around allowing the creative, the professional, the entrepreneur, all of these different, if we want to say in their cells, kind of siloed groups, bring them together, which then has allowed for the opportunity for the music industry to be engaged, the visual arts community to be engaged, the TV and film industry to be able to be engaged in conversations. Of course, we talk about your spoken word and all these other amazing dynamics that are coming together through this one space that is open that door. Additionally, I am very familiar with the fact that the Beltline being established, there was the idea that they wanted to start to cultivate bringing creative so that there could be murals and paintings that could be able to be a part of that experience. And so early on, I was a part of, even not directly because I wasn't doing any of the artwork, but through the conversations of how to be able to facilitate making that be something that Atlanta could really embrace. I was in conversations around that, and so I am just so excited to see what that looks like, and the producing of artwork and the engagement that people are being able to benefit from, having the amazing artists that have used installations through the murals and even sculpture also adding to that have been a part of the Beltline project. And so those are definitely two ways in which I think Atlanta is really trying to continue to move in a direction of innovative and setting the trajectory of engaging the creative community and opening up opportunity for those that are coming behind us to be able to see the possibilities when you're able to use the creativity along with some of these other methods of being able to be successful.
That is superb. I don't think that we've ever talked about those two things on the podcast ever, and it's fascinating because I've been going to the Gathering Spot for at least around the same time you have. And this is something that I agree with you 100%. There's so many things happening there to the point that myself and a couple of colleagues, we were going to be launching something in January at the Gathering Spot. It'll be, we'll take the powerful meeting spaces that they have a lot of times people come to me because I'm in this world, right, the entertainment world, but I have this background in helping businesses and helping people grow, and they're asking, well, Winston, can you help me with this, or can you give me some direction around this? So we're going to have something at the gathering spot, and my colleagues will probably give me a hard time for saying this too early, but it's okay. It's called the Business Room, and it'll start in 2020. And it'll be just a meeting every couple of weeks at a space there. When so it'll take someone like myself who has this ability of helping people craft and start their businesses. We'll have individuals who are focused on marketing. It's almost like a television show for that matter, but it'll be in a room. There's many fantastic rooms at the gathering spot. And so,
Right.
so it'll be in one of those rooms. And you, if you're willing, I think will be a fantastic person to have in one of those conversations. I've seen you there at the gathering spot a couple of times, so it might not be that far for you to walk. So,
No, it's great. I mean, matter of fact, I moved to the downtown area so that I could be able to be right in the heart of everything. And since I moved back in 2012 back to the city, it has been, I mean, I tell you, I love every day the idea that, of course you can't get away from a little traffic in Atlanta, but given the fact that I'm, right around the corner from the gathering spot and multiple other amazing structures and, facilities that are in the Atlanta area, it's been a really good move and good fit for me.
So I'm going to ask you kind of I don't know how this will come, if this will be tough or easy for you. You are so inspirational. And so, Praise, who is inspirational to you? Who has or have it in the past inspired you in your life?
So I have to say that it's not one person. There, definitely are a couple of people that I feel like have really helped to mold and shape who I am and have really garnered a real heart place in my life. And I would like to first start off with, absolutely my parents, my mother and father truly have been so amazing and have, helped me over the many years, guiding me into being able to learn how to be able to think with an open mind and be able to engage and see people and be able to acknowledge the fact that we're not all the same, but in the same sense, we can still be able to find those commonalities. And my father passed away back in May of this year, and it was definitely a very, tough thing for me to have to experience the loss of my father. But one of the things that I have been committed to do is my father, like myself, really believed in being able to connect with people and be able to, give back to the community. And so even with my company, I have been very intentional about looking for ways in order to do that. And one of the ways that I do is every year I find a high school student who is getting ready to pursue, heading to college or even maybe not sure where they're going, that that my company selects to be able to do something for. And I think that has been something that will continue to happen in honor of my father and, of course, as again, the things that I've learned through my parents. I would also like to share that Elizabeth Omalami, who is the daughter of Hosea Williams, Hosea happens to be one of my clients. But even before they became a client of mine, one of the things that I recognize is the tremendous work that they do in the community through Hosea Help, also known as Hosea Feeds the Hungry and Homeless. And I truly admire Mrs. O, as I call her, because not only has she been willing to, put her life on the line to be committed to the work that they do every day at Hosea Helps, but she also has been able to find time every now and then to still do her first love, which is acting. And those of you who were recently able to see the movie that came out earlier this year, The Best of Enemies with Taraji P. Henson, she was in that movie, yes. And so I am I just, every day that I get to be in her presence, truly she is an iconic legend through her involvement in the things that she's been doing, and also the role that she's played as a civil rights icon's daughter. I admire her tenacity. I admire her determination, and I just admire how she's been able to navigate in a nonprofit organization that has had great success, but at the same time is working really hard to continue to build opportunities so the least of these can be able to have more opportunities like those that, have more.
Wow. I hope that everyone who's listening to us today and to what you're sharing just really understands that giving and giving for giving's sake and serving is such a powerful thing. We can't tell what's going to happen when we help somebody else. And a lot of times our world is trying to tell us to be separate or different than that, where it's about us. And the things you shared are just such an amazing representation of that. So here's the thing. So Praise, there's someone out there who's listening to this conversation right now, and they're saying to themselves, I don't know if I'm creative, or I used to be creative, or creativity hurts, or I've lost my way. And they're listening to you and what you're about to answer, and you're going to tell them what is one thing or two things that they need to do to start or to get themselves going. What would those one or two things be to that person who's listening to you right now?
I'm glad you asked that, Winston. So this is the first thing I would say. I would say you're not alone. And even though in that moment when you are thinking about what it is that you're doing and whether or not what you have to offer is valuable and if anybody would be able to appreciate it, what I can tell you is that God put you on this earth because there was a need and a gift and a talent that you have, that only you have it. And the billions of people on this planet, there is no one like you. So therefore, because he gave you that talent and that gift, his goal and desire is for you to share that. And so the one thing that I do know is that one is we know where it came from, and then also being clear on the idea that we never can do anything alone. Not one person I know that is successful is able to do anything alone. So I would say you have the ability to start to reach out, even if it's to me. I promise you, I am more than happy, and though I stay busy, I'm always appreciative when people reach out to me and they're trying to figure out where they need to start, or the idea of where to begin, or to be able to have the opportunity to connect them with someone. I believe that I'm a connector by my heart and my heart's desire to be able to provide to others what sometimes others didn't do for me, or those who did do it for me, being able to pay it forward. And so that's one thing. The other thing that I would say is there are so many community opportunities out there. As I mentioned, of course, the Gathering Spot is a member space, but there's loads of organizations and opportunities, especially in the Atlanta area, that if you look up a couple of meetups, that there may be one that fits exactly what you're trying to go after. And I would say don't be afraid to go after, reach out, and inquire. Even social media, surprisingly enough, though there are some things about social media that I think could be improved, one of the best things that I think is that I occasionally get people that do reach out to me on DM, and they're inspired by either when I've spoken somewhere or some content that I put on my platforms. And so it's given me an opportunity to start to engage a conversation with someone. So I'd say use social media in a way that could be valuable and reach out to someone. And sometimes you may not get an immediate response, but don't give up. Just share a quick thought, but be very specific about what your ask is, because sometimes when you're wanting to get advice on something and you don't know someone, it's easier if your ask is specific. So, for example, if you're approaching someone that is in the entertainment industry and you obviously are looking to try to get your foot in the door, if you find that there's someone on social media that you see as someone that you want to be able to connect with, be very clear about being able to say, I've seen your work, or I've been following you on social media, and I have a question about, and whatever that question is, be specific. And again, if they don't respond, find 5 or 6 different people that you do the same thing, because there's always going to be, where there's no response, I guarantee you, if you keep plugging away, there's going to be someone that will respond.
That is so poignant. I get a lot of times people who will reach out and say, Winston, I have a conversation, and I was like, okay, Kate, what do you need help with? Well, I want to learn what it takes to be successful, which is a very broad topic, yes. As opposed to being very, very poignant about what it is they want to do next. And
right.
And I think you're right that, and I know that this is true for myself, and it's probably true for you, is that taking the step is the thing. Taking the one step first, as opposed to trying to line all 150 steps up and then take a step. Taking one step is the key thing, and that in my life and in most people's lives that have been on this podcast, and I'm sure praise for yourself, is what really happens. The momentum. It's like an engine. It's like when you turn on the car. The car is not at its most maximum efficiency when it starts, but you got to turn it on to get it to go. So it's great. You have been so amazing to have on this podcast. I am going to ask you up front, and you can say no if you'd like, but I would love to have you on again in the future. That would be great.
Oh, yes. That's awesome. Like I said before, I love being able to engage people, and I love being able to share, because at the end of the day, the things that I've learned, I want someone else to be able to benefit from it, because if I hold it in, there's no value to that.
That's right.
And so at the end of the day, when I have opportunities to be able to share through the speaking and engaging in this way, it really does allow me an opportunity to be able to continue to get the word out that I believe ultimately we are better together than we are by ourselves. And in order for that to happen, there has to be some intentionality. And these are ways through podcasts and, the other platforms that are opportunities in order for me to be able to share that.
That's such an awesome, I know it sounds almost political, but it's fantastic. I'm going to remember that. I hope people remember that as well. We are better together than we are by ourselves. That is a great statement. Praise, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, and if they wanted to learn more about all the things that you're doing, what are some ways that they can do that?
I appreciate you for asking. So they can go to my website at elementsofdelight.com. And of course, that's elements plural. So ELEMENTSOFDELIGHT.com. Of course, they can follow me through my social media, all social media platforms at elementsofdelight.com, IG, Facebook, Twitter. You can even catch me on LinkedIn through Praise Jackson. And I also have, if you're interested in following me on my personal one, Praise Jackson, numeric 7 is where you can follow me on IG. Additionally, if you are interested in learning more about my services and would like to give a call, you feel free to call my office at 404-343-3992. And again, I'm, always up for being able to have a brief conversation and see where that conversation goes. Again, my company does branding and image consulting services for individuals, businesses, and nonprofits. And I'm, so happy and look forward to hopefully connecting with a couple of those of you who are listening.
Thanks again. So those of you who are listening to us today, thanks again for listening to the Creativity Cocktail powered by Rising Tides Charity. We call it the Creativity Cocktail because we have individuals who have a diverse and disparate bits of energy and creativity, all from the different worlds that exist. We've had people who are in the business world, but we've had people who are chefs and makeup artists. And when you mix all of these wonderful people together, you get a great, fantastic cocktail and concoction that is fantastic. So those of you who are listening today, please reach out to us if you have any questions for us. You know, your info at risingtidescharity.org is our email address. Our website is risingtidescharity.org. This Creativity Cocktail is on IG directly. We also have a Patreon group that you can join and get some behind the scenes kind of things on our podcast and what we're working on. And that helps us to fuel these podcasts. Remember, our goals are pretty simple here at this point. Our goal is to have fantastic conversations with creatives like Praise. We are going to be putting these together here at the end of next year and really creating this compendium of fantastic creative advice for people in this world. We are also working on making sure that our mission trip in the subsequent year in 2021 happens, and we've outlined a couple of places that we will kick that off in. The Rising Tides Charity is about all of us helping each one of us rise at the same time. And so Praise, again, thank you for being part of this podcast. We look forward to you joining us again, and we look forward to talking to you more.
Awesome. Well, Winston, again, thank you so much, and I'm definitely open up to come back, and I appreciate the invitation.
All right.